Commissioner Gordon. Bane has escaped.
Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult demands a response. Not every war deserves your blood. But you've been taught that walking away is weakness, that silence is surrender, that distance is fear. They were wrong. The truth is sharper. Sometimes retreat is not cowardice. Sometimes it's calculation. You do not waste ammunition on shadows. You do not burn your energy to defend what doesn't serve your mission. You do not light a fire just to prove you have matches. Strategic withdrawal is the art of restraint in a world obsessed with proving something. And only those who know the value of their own fire understand when not to burn. When you withdraw with intent, you don't lose. You conserve. You buy time. You preserve leverage. You watch them waste their fury in your absence. The loudest enemy always mistakes silence for defeat. Let them. While they scream, you sharpen. While they posture, you prepare. A man who retreats without clarity disappears. But a man who retreats with vision returns as something they never expected. Transformed, disciplined, unshaken. Because he knows what he's building matters more than what they're saying. And he refuses to let small minds rewrite the purpose he was born to fulfill. Strategic withdrawal means letting go of what wants to keep you trapped. Toxic debates, petty rivalries, draining cycles of conflict that produce nothing but fatigue. It means you stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided who you are. It means you stop giving CPR to dead relationships, dead projects, dead philosophies. It means you value your mental bandwidth like sacred currency. You don't spend it on every accusation. You don't throw it at every fire. You protect your energy with the discipline of a general, not because you're afraid of war, but because you know how many wars aren't worth fighting. There's no shame in disappearing for a season. There's wisdom in obscurity, growth in silence. Some phases require you to leave the noise behind so you can hear your own voice again. Strategic withdrawal gives you back your senses. The chaos you escaped was never going to offer clarity. The applause you chased was never going to offer peace. When you step back, not because you were broken, but because you chose to rebuild alone, your comeback is inevitable. Not louder, sharper, more deliberate. You don't return to where you were, you return above it. And everything that once demanded your energy now looks smaller from the peak. Sometimes the battlefield is in your mind. And withdrawal means silence, stillness. Not giving in to the compulsive urge to explain yourself, defend yourself. Prove your value to people who wouldn't know gold if it was handed to them. It means choosing solitude over chaos, choosing mastery over attention. You leave the crowd to reclaim your focus. You walk away from the argument to protect your future. You subtract to multiply. That is the paradox of strategic withdrawal. It shrinks your world temporarily so that you can return with more precision, more clarity, more power. The ego resists retreat. It screams, don't back down, don't be small, don't let them win. But the mission isn't to win the moment. It's to win the war. And wars are won by those who choose their battles. You don't fight out of impulse. You fight with purpose. You don't waste your rage on temporary enemies. You save it for the moment that counts. Strategic withdrawal is not self-abandonment. It's self-preservation. It's knowing that your energy is a weapon and you don't fire it recklessly. You can always tell who has mastered the art of withdrawal by how they walk away. No announcement, no explanation, no emotional collapse, Just silence, just space, just a slow, intentional fade that leaves the room colder than before. That kind of exit terrifies people because they can't provoke it, they can't predict it, and they can't control it. It's not about ghosting, it's about detaching with intelligence. You step back and suddenly their power over you dissolves, because power requires attention. And strategic withdrawal is the art of starving the noise. It's not just about people, it's about patterns. Strategic withdrawal means knowing when to exit the wrong routine, the wrong lifestyle, the wrong thought loop. It's the man who realizes that staying consistent with the wrong version of himself is not loyalty, it's suicide. You withdraw from the person you've been to become the person you were meant to be. You shed your skin without asking for applause. You burn the script without asking for permission, because you know that growth rarely happens in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the retreat, in the withdrawal. You will be misunderstood. You will be questioned. They'll say you're lost, you've changed, you've become distant. Let them. They are addicted to your availability. They are not used to seeing you choose elevation over validation. Withdrawal will make them uncomfortable because you were their mirror, and now you've taken it away. But that discomfort is the price of peace, and peace is the foundation of power. You were not born to be always accessible. You were born to be potent, and potency requires restraint. The emotional battlefield is often crowded with people flailing for control, not because they're powerful, but because they feel powerless. Watch them carefully. They don't argue to resolve. They don't speak to communicate. They posture, provoke, poke, and prod to gain emotional leverage. Their words are not designed to be understood. They're designed to destabilize. Every insult is a distraction. Every guilt trip is a trap. And if you respond from impulse, from ego, from the need to prove you're unshaken, you've already lost the most valuable thing you have, your energy. Energy that should have been reserved for strategy. Energy that should have fueled your purpose. Instead, now it's been siphoned into a pointless skirmish. What you begin to realize as you age, if you're paying attention, is that energy is currency. And just like money, it loses value when spent carelessly. Youth tricks you into thinking you have infinite reserves. You respond to everything. Fight everyone. Argue with shadows. You run into every fire with a sword only to find out you were never supposed to be in that room. The older you get, the more expensive your focus becomes. The more valuable your silence becomes. Because every time you respond emotionally, you hand the wheel to chaos. And chaos knows no destination. It just drives until you crash. Preserving your emotional energy doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming precise, tactical, intentional. There are battles worth your rage, but they are few and they are rare. Everything else is noise disguised as necessity. Every petty argument, every manipulative jab, every emotional demand, these are bait, designed to hook you into a drama that ends with you depleted and distracted. But the man who withdraws, who doesn't flinch, who watches the battlefield erupt while keeping his hands by his side, that man is terrifying, because he's not controlled by impulse. He chooses when to engage, and when he does, he's lethal. Learn to listen without reacting. Let them scream. Let them throw their tantrums. Let them assume silence is surrender. Because the more emotionally charged they become, the clearer you see the field. Emotional control is not about suppression. It's about recognition. It's about knowing what the trigger is, seeing it light up and refusing to pull it. That refusal doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're conserving your bullets for the right target. Every reaction you withhold is a drop of energy redirected to purpose. And purpose, unlike conflict, compounds. You don't owe your presence to chaos. You don't owe your response to everyone who tugs at your emotions. You owe your energy to your mission, to your evolution, to your clarity. Anything that pulls you from that is not just a distraction. It's a theft. Emotional warfare is not about who yells louder. It's about who lasts longer, who maintains composure when the room is on fire, who doesn't blink when insulted, who doesn't crumble when misunderstood. You want to be unshakable? Then stop proving you're right. Start proving you're focused. The reason withdrawal is so powerful is because it denies the battlefield the one thing it feeds on: your attention. Emotional manipulators, narcissists, provocateurs, they thrive off the reaction. They feed on the energy. Remove that and they wither. Leave the room and the argument dies. Step back and their power dissolves. You don't have to outshout them. You outlast them, because your silence will echo longer than their noise. And while they flail, desperate to drag you back in, you're already gone, building, refining, becoming. The hardest lesson to learn is this: not every attack deserves retaliation. Sometimes the truest show of power is restraint. You let them land the blow, but you refuse to swing back. Not because you can't, but because it's beneath your mission. Your energy is not a toy. It's not a trophy for anyone who wants a piece of your attention. It is sacred, and every drop you give away must earn its value, not in temporary victory, but in long-term progression. Withdrawing from the emotional battlefield doesn't mean you're avoiding conflict. It means you're choosing your wars. You understand that peace is not the absence of noise. It's the absence of wasted movement. You move only when the move matters. You respond only when the response reshapes the game. Everything else is filtered, not because you're disconnected, but because you are focused. Strategic withdrawal is not a pause. It's a pivot, away from the childish, toward the calculated. And when people see that you don't flinch, that you don't fight over every jab, that your energy is guarded like treasure, they shift. They start thinking before they speak. They start measuring their words, because they know you will not dance unless it's war. You don't enter rooms without purpose. You don't engage without impact. That reputation of restraint, of calculation, becomes a weapon more powerful than any outburst. You become less predictable, more formidable, less emotional, more dangerous. A man without a vision is a man without a weapon. He reacts to everything, every insult, every distraction, every shiny object. He wakes up with no aim and falls asleep with no progress. He mistakes activity for advancement. But the man who moves with vision does not chase noise. He filters every moment through a singular lens. Does this align with my mission, or does it dilute me? If it contributes to clarity, he acts. If it drains his momentum, he disappears. The vision is not decoration, it is defense. It is a sword cutting through confusion. And those who refuse to build one are devoured by demands that never belong to them. Vision is not about grandeur. It's not about shouting your goals to the sky. It's about internal alignment. It's the compass you build in solitude, the blueprint you revisit when the noise gets loud. It's the invisible gate you place at the door of your attention. Before anything enters, it must ask permission. Before any action is taken, it must justify itself. Will this sharpen me? Will this move me forward? Will this strip away what's unnecessary and bring me closer to who I must become? If not, then it dies at the gate. No apologies, no explanation, just execution through elimination. When you live like this, you stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying why you didn't reply, why you didn't go, why you didn't engage. Because the answer is always the same. It didn't serve the mission. And when the mission is clear, silence becomes self-respect. Withdrawal becomes power. You are no longer available for anything that distracts you from what you're building. You're not rude, you're rare. You don't trade presence for popularity. You don't sacrifice progress for approval. You don't entertain what doesn't elevate. Filtering your actions is how you conserve your edge. Not everything deserves your time. Not everyone earns your access. That's the discipline most never develop. They fear missing out more than they fear mediocrity. So they say yes to everything and build nothing. But you've seen the cost of scattered energy. You've paid the price of distraction before. So now, your energy bows to the vision. Every word you speak, every task you pursue, every room you enter, filtered, sharpened, vetted. If it feeds the mission, you go all in. If it doesn't, you vanish like smoke. The vision is a filter, but it's also a furnace. It burns away what is not essential. It destroys false urgency. It reveals how much of your time was spent fighting battles that didn't belong to you. When you begin filtering your engagements, you realize how much of your life has been reaction-based, responding to messages you didn't need, defending opinions that didn't matter, fighting for validation that offered no value. And once you let the vision lead, those attachments die. You realize withdrawal is not a retreat, it's a recalibration. When your actions are aligned with vision, you stop being pulled by emotion. You start being guided by precision. Emotional reactions are expensive. Every engagement costs you something: focus, time, clarity. When you live without a filter, you hemorrhage energy. But when the vision is clear, you preserve your core. You become unmoved by chaos, untouchable by gossip, unfazed by provocation. Because you have a destination, and that destination becomes the filter that decides everything. Vision doesn't just guide your steps, it governs your state. It shapes your internal climate. A man with no vision is reactive. He is ruled by circumstance. But a man with vision carries his world with him. He chooses his response. He bends his emotions to the service of something larger. That's what the filter gives you: freedom from the prison of immediacy. You're no longer pulled by every urgency. You are moved only by what matters. Vision brings weight to your presence. People feel it. They know you don't speak without aim. You don't linger in spaces that drain you. You don't explain the path you're on because the path speaks for itself. You become the man who left the room while they were still shouting, because you were already building what they couldn't understand. That is the power of the filter. It gives you clarity. It gives you direction. It gives you permission to say no without guilt and walk away without hesitation. And the longer you operate like this, the more distance grows between you and the man you used to be. That man chased everything. That man needed attention. That man got lost in arguments that led nowhere. But now, your identity has changed, because every filtered action becomes a brick. Every filtered conversation becomes a corridor. And every filtered decision becomes a map to the man you were always meant to become. The vision didn't just guide your steps, it rewrote your name. The art of living is getting paid to play, but only if you choose the right game. There are endless games in this world. Some reward distraction, some reward destruction, some reward obedience, but very few reward freedom, and fewer still reward truth. The trick is not to find a game that pays. That part's easy. The world will hand you 1,000 ways to profit, but most will cost you your soul. Most will feed your bank and starve your identity. The true art is to find the play that makes you feel more alive the deeper you go. The one that sharpens you while feeding you. The one that pays you for becoming more of yourself. Anything less is a leash disguised as a ladder. People chase comfort, then wonder why they feel empty. They pick the game everyone else is playing. The one with the biggest spotlight, the loudest crowd, the most recognition. But popularity is not prosperity. Visibility is not vitality. You can be paid millions to play someone else's game and still feel like you're dying slowly. That's what happens when you trade authenticity for applause. The money rolls in, but your fire goes out. You become a parody of the man you once swore to become. And no paycheck can resurrect what you willingly buried. Choosing the right play begins with subtraction. You strip away the lies, the borrowed ambitions, the voices telling you who you should be. You get quiet enough to hear the pull that's been there all along. The thing you did before money mattered. The thing that brought flow, that erased time, that made suffering feel sacred. That is your blueprint. Not a career path, but a calling. And once you find it, the work begins. Not to chase success, but to craft your life so the world pays you to stay on that path without compromise. But here's the twist. The right play often starts unpaid. It starts thankless, ridiculed, dismissed. Because the world doesn't pay you for alignment, it pays you for value. And value takes time to build, time to fail, time to repeat in silence. So while others sprint into careers that feed their image, you walk alone into a play that feeds your essence. You will look lost. You will be misunderstood. But if you stay long enough, if you master your lane, the money follows. Slowly at first, then suddenly. Because mastery makes the world bend to those who stayed the course. To choose the right play, you must master saying no. No to distraction. No to short-term wins. No to opportunities that dilute your vision for the sake of quick gain. That's why strategic withdrawal is non-negotiable. Every wrong yes is a step away from your real path. Every time you show up to a game you don't want to play, you rob your future self of momentum. Your life is not a buffet of trials. It is a weapon. Sharpen it. Aim it. Fire it at only what matters. Let others burn out chasing everything. You build by chasing what is yours. The man who masters his play becomes timeless. Because he's not chasing trends. He's not reinventing himself every year to stay relevant. He is building depth while others chase width. He is digging roots while others build facades. And when the world finally sees what he's built, it looks effortless, like magic. But it was never magic. It was strategy. It was withdrawal from every game that didn't serve him, and repetition in the one game that made his soul roar. Money earned doing what drains you is expensive, because it taxes your spirit, it bankrupts your presence. But money earned in alignment, that's clean money, that's sustainable. That builds you while it builds your future. It gives you energy, not just comfort. It expands your capacity. It makes you dangerous. Because now every dollar is a vote for the man you want to become. Every project, every client, every deal, filtered. And the man with that kind of alignment cannot be bought. The world will tempt you with easier games, louder ones, faster wins. But every game comes with a cost. You have to ask, what will I have to trade to win here? If the answer is clarity, integrity, authenticity, walk away. Strategic withdrawal is not failure, it's the preservation of your mission. And your mission matters more than their metrics. You don't need 100 opportunities. You need one that fits you so well your discipline becomes second nature. One that asks for your best and keeps asking until your best becomes effortless. And once you find that play, build the life around it. Protect it like sacred ground. Don't let noise pollute it. Don't let trends distort it. Don't let insecurity rush it. Let it grow slow. Let it mature, because that's what legacy is made of. Not noise, but mastery. And mastery demands space, focus, obsession, and above all, patience.